All right. Hey, what's up, Salem? I am here at Covenant Park Bible Camp, and I'm joined by the director, Kaela. And we're just going to sit down, have a conversation about camp and about what God is doing here this summer. So, Kaela, please just kind of give me a 30,000-foot overview of Covenant Park and camp in general.
The main thing that we do over the course of the summer is summer youth camps, of course. So kids will come, our littlest kids come for a day, and then we graduate to a 2-night overnight. And then as you get older, you get to come a little bit longer, up to a week. We also do guest groups. So a number of churches or families or small groups will come and rent different spaces around camp to enjoy camp. And a lot of times they will run their own programs, or maybe we'll do a partnership. We'll run some climbing wall and zip line, or do some meals for them, and then they get to use our space to retreat together. Yeah.
So what's the concept of, like, why come to a camp and do that? What's the benefit of coming to camp?
Well, there's the functionality of it, of just getting a big space where a lot of people can get together. There's the outdoor setting of lots of fun things to do at camp outside. But there's also kind of the spiritual getaway piece where you're withdrawing from your everyday life, busyness, distractions, and just getting away, being out in creation where God speaks, being together with other believers where God speaks, and just kind of getting centered on Him.
Yeah. Could you then tell me a little bit about some of the history of Covenant Park?
Yeah, so camp started in 1940 with summer youth camps. That was mainly what the property was developed for here. Yep. Okay. So this property started in 1940. Prior to that, there was a group of the Covenant churches that was meeting at different camps that they would rent to run their camps. And then 1940, or just prior to 1940, a man named Mr. Borgen donated 8 acres of land to if the Covenant churches would develop a camp on it, which is now where we are at. And since then, camp is probably almost 10 times that size now. We're almost 80 acres of land between here and then across the lake at the Anderson Outpost. Okay. But yeah, that's how it started. Okay.
Where is the Anderson Outpost? All right. Where's the Anderson Outpost at?
So if you go kind of diagonally straight across the lake, you'll hit the dock.
Oh, okay, okay.
So there's 35 acres over there.
Of just
raw land, tent pads, and an outhouse.
Okay, well, very necessary.
Key, yes.
Okay. Can you tell me about your history with camp in general and then Covenant Park? Like, I guess what I'm asking, do you have a story in which, like, almost kind of confirmed to you, like, this camp is what I do? Like, camp is what I love.
Yeah. So I came to Covenant Park as a camper, and I think I was a trailblazer and got super homesick. So like 4th grade, I was super homesick and didn't really come with specific buddies or friends. So I ended up never coming back to camp as a camper.
Really?
I came a couple times for family camp stuff after that, but never came as a camper again. But I had a youth leader in junior high and high school that became a really close mentor to me, and we're still friends to this day, but she was highly involved in camp ministry. And so as I got to know her and heard some of her stories of camp, I was like, man, that would be so cool to do that someday, to be a camp counselor. And as God kind of started to discern the steps as I got closer to the end of high school, I knew I wanted to go into ministry as a degree. So I went to Crown College, got a discipleship ministry degree, and then the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, I started considering maybe working at a camp. And so I actually went back to that mentor and was chatting with her about it, and she suggested that I apply at Covenant Park, and I had some reservations just because of my experience as a camper.
Sure.
But I ended up doing it, and I ended up out here that summer, and it just, a series of events was like, yep, I think that's where I'm supposed to be. Loved it, had a very powerful, impactful summer of just God using me to speak into kids' lives, and got to see God doing some really cool things in other people and in my own heart too. And so the next summer, I wanted to counsel again, but Covenant Park was in need of a program director. And so I was like, well, I could probably do that. Like I could probably do that. So that ended up being the next 2 summers. Okay. And then at the tail end of my undergrad degree, I was to do an internship in a ministry. And I was like, well, I love camp. I think this is what I want to do after college. Let's look for a camp internship. And ended up at another Covenant camp. Was there for about 6 months doing program stuff. Covenant Park's way better. But yeah, ended up doing some program stuff there. Came back here, didn't have a job. And that was right about the time Covenant Park was in switching directors. And the current director at the time knew that he was probably looking to transition out. Nobody else knew that, but he hired me to work in the office and kind of do some seasonal ministry stuff. Yeah. And that ended up turning into an interim director role after he left. And then a year later, that turned into full time. Okay. So yeah, I've been in that director role almost 7 years now.
Wow. So, yeah. Didn't realize it was that long. Okay. Yeah. Do you have like a favorite story of just of your time here at Covenant Park?
Yeah.
Like a Covenant Park story.
Oh man. It'd be really, really hard to choose. Well, I could probably think of a million stories.
Of course.
For just cool things that happen with campers and staff and just watching kids grow through their experience of camp. But I think for me personally, one of the coolest things to have experienced and something that has been the most impactful for my own faith journey has been as the director over the last number of years, in that I had never planned to be a camp director. Sure. I was interested in doing program stuff, so maybe a program director or something like that. And then I was really struggling when I was approached with the position of looking at this more long term. And camp was in a tough spot at the time. And so I had a lot of anxiety about that, of I don't feel qualified to take this position right now. Sure. And just different things like that. And I really felt like God was saying, this is what I have meant for you to do right now. And so through a lot of prayer, I said yes to that. And I have just been met with this overwhelming response of God's faithfulness in that, and how he has really revived camp in a lot of ways in the last couple of years. And getting to meet people that care very much about camp and have watched people come alongside to say, we want to see this happen at camp. How can we do it? And being able to be a part of that conversation to say, yeah, let's do it. And let's watch what God's going to do to that. The climbing wall, the Lakeside Lodge, all of these projects that we thought, is that ever possible, have just exploded, which has been super cool.
Okay. We are in the summer of 2022. Tell me about the summer for camp, and tell me about like what you are most excited for.
Well, my favorite part about any summer is always the summer staff, because my camper interaction is not a lot of super direct interaction. Sure. I work more with the summer staff and let them figure out how to do crazy, awesome, fun camper stuff. And so that's always my highlight of the summer, is watching staff and volunteers grow and figuring out how to invest in them so that they can invest in campers. But as far as this summer goes specifically, I'm super excited that we have a number of guest groups. And that's just kind of this new... We've always done it, but it's getting to be more a part of camp's ministry. And so together with the summer staff, we're like, okay, how do we do guest groups really well and make their experience just as impactful and just as powerful as camper experiences. We were actually just talking about this today in that.
Because they bring in a lot of their own stuff, right?
They bring in a lot of their own stuff. And yet I still hear from adults just as much as I hear from campers of, I really needed camp. And this has been such a great getaway. And I met people this weekend that I never knew before. And now we're like really great friends. And I can't wait to come back next year to this thing to see them again. Yeah. And so it's a really similar experience for an adult as it is for a camper. And so I'm just really enjoying how we're getting to figure out how to do that better because it's becoming a bigger thing for us. Yeah. So
cool. Okay, so you got these guest camps, but can you talk a little bit just about like what are some of the reoccurring camps that happen every year?
Sure. So when kids come to camp for those different age groups, anywhere from entering first grade all the way through a kid that just graduated high school, they come for the times that we talked about, and then we do chapel twice a day. So in the morning, it's just kind of a fun, upbeat chapel with silly songs, and we do the memory verse and things like that. And then in the evening is more of a speaker. So we'll have different speakers come in for the week and talk about the theme. And there'll be a different kind of lesson for each day that every part of the day we try to hone in on that one thing. So, and then there's some worship music. We do like tons of crazy activities. So there's at least one all camp game for the day. A lot of times we do a night game to kind of end the night. Skits, canteen, so you can go order all your favorite snacks, ice cream, cotton candy, all kinds of good stuff. You also get to do activities with your cabin groups. And so if you come to camp, you can request your cabin buddies. So if you come with a friend, to be in the same cabin with your buddy. But then your counselor will take you and do the climbing wall and zip line, or you might go kayaking one day or things like that. But then you also have time to chat with your cabin after chapel about, hey, what'd you learn? And what questions do you have? And so there's lots of time to do fun stuff and choose what you want to do. But then there's also good time to sit and relax and hang out with your friends. And there's like one senior high, there's a junior high. How are some of those like classic weeks split up? Yeah, so our day campers is first through third graders, and there's 3 different days. So you can come for one or you can come for all 3. The next age is mini camp. So that's 2nd through 4th graders, and they come for 2 nights. Trailblazers are 4th through 6th graders, and they come Sunday through Thursday. Junior high is 7th through 9th graders, and they come Sunday through Friday. And senior high this year is 9th through just graduated seniors, and they come Sunday through Friday as well. What is the theme of camp this year, and where are you guys taking us? So the theme this summer is Chosen For, and we're taking you on a superhero adventure mission. And so the theme is rooted in 1 Peter 2, 9 and 10. For you are a chosen people, royal priesthood, people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. That was impressive. We got to nail it, right? So yeah, just looking into this idea of who we are and what we're called to as people of God. How do you become a person of God? And then what adventure is he going to take you on as a child of God? And so that's where we're headed. I'm super excited about it. We're going to meet some cool superheroes that are going to take us on the journey. Exciting. Is there one game that revolves around this theme that has been planned yet? Not yet. We're kind of in the formative stages of games at this point. So my last question for you then is kind of a twofold. How can we pray? And then is there something specific that you guys are looking for that hasn't been met yet, that maybe someone who hears this might be able to step up and help you guys out? Yeah. So pray for our staffing. We've had a little bit of a challenge just trying to get all the right staff with the right skills. And so we have a number of staff that are coming for just a week or two, which is a little bit different for us. And so that training piece of getting them up to speed, on board, ready to go is going to be a little bit different. And so just kind of pray that all the pieces would fit together the way that they need to, and that we would get all the right people in the right spots for that. And pray that a lot of kids would be able to come to camp this summer. And not only for the financial piece, like that is part of it, but the biggest thing is that each kid that comes to camp has an opportunity to hear about Jesus and grow with Jesus.